Good morning. Welcome to Kahului Hongwanji's Sunday service. Once again, our at-home Sunday service during this COVID-19 time that we are able to share because of the internet. We can and YouTube. We can have this service together, even though we are all staying at home. Today is Eshinni and Kakushinni day for Kahului Hongwanji. Eshinni was Shinran's wife, and Kakushinni was their daughter, and their lives were very important, as you'll hear about in the Dharma message later in the service. They were important people in the history of Jodo Shinshu, and they also are a great reminder to us of the importance of the equality of all beings. Buddhism really emphasizes, and especially Shinran's teaching, especially the Nembutsu teaching, really emphasizes the complete equality of all beings. No difference because of gender, status, wealth, any of those things. For Buddhism, Amida looks at all of us. The Buddha looks at all of us as if we were Buddha, as if we were all at the highest level. So we completely dispense with any thought about status or, male or female, rich or poor, any of those things. Everyone is equal in Buddhism. So let's begin our service now. We will start with the Vandana Tisarana, chanting of the Vandana Tisarana, and then we will have the chanting of Jusege in English. Jusege is the reaffirming the vow. The Bodhisattva Dharmakara is singing this hymn, this gatha, to the Buddha, reaffirming his great vow to save all beings. So let's begin our service now by putting our hands together in Gasho and reciting the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Bhutang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Today we will chant Jusege, the hymn reaffirming the vows. Jusege is a poetic summary of the basic intention of the 48 vows made by Bodhisattva Dharmakara in Japanese Hozo Bosatsu. Concentrated in 3 major vows, Dharmakara promises to attain supreme enlightenment, to save the poor and suffering, whether spiritually or physically, and to declare the universal availability of salvation through Amida's name everywhere throughout the universe. These vows promise to create a perfect world where no suffering or evil exists. In Jusege, Bodhisattva Dharmakara vows that he will become like the Buddha Lokeshvara Raja, who is his teacher, and that's to whom this hymn or gatha is addressed. When this vow is fulfilled, the universe will tremble and all the gods and people will be moved with excitement, while rare and wondrous flowers will rain down upon them. So today we will chant the English version of Jusege. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. I have made unrivaled vows, and will reach the highest path. If I fail in any way, may I not attain Buddhahood. Should I not provide to all for countless kalpas to come, aid in times of suffering, may I not attain Buddhahood. I will reach enlightenment, but unless my Buddha name resounds throughout the universe, may I not attain Buddhahood. I will practice the noble path, wisely, mindfully, free of greed, seek to reach the supreme way, be a guide to one and all. May my power shine great light to illumine and dispel the darkness of the 3 poisons, and save all from suffering. With eyes of wisdom I'll remove the darkness of ignorance. I will close all evil paths, open gates of highest good. When I attain Buddhahood, light will shine throughout all lands, light brighter than sun and moon, outshining all heavenly lights, giving my virtues to all, not forsaking anyone. I will proclaim the Dharma like the roar of a great lion, bowing before all Buddhas, steadfastly gaining virtues, with wisdom fulfilling my vows. I shall be a guide to all, like the wisdom of my teacher. May my wisdom also shine all throughout the universe, and illumine one and all. If I shall fulfill these vows, may all lands tremble with joy. From the heavens wondrous flowers rain down upon all the lands. Namandabu, 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 Namandabu. the virtue of Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Good morning again, and at this time I'd like to share a Dharma message with you, some reflections on the Buddhist teaching. Particularly, I want to talk about Eshinni, especially Kakushinni and Eshinni, which we are observing today. So on this observance, we're celebrating these two very important women in the Jodo Shinshu tradition, very important people in the Jodo Shinshu tradition. Eshinni was the wife of Shinran Shonin, and Kakushinni was their daughter. And we might say these two people are among the most important people in the history of Jodo Shinshu. For one thing, they supported, and to a large extent they made possible for Shinran, for him to devote himself to the task of sharing Amida's great compassionate vow with everyone that he met, and to spread this teaching. And they especially supported him during the time when he was making the great effort to do all of his important writings. So Eshinni and Kakushinni Day is an opportunity for us to celebrate these two important women, and also to celebrate the true equality of women and men in Buddhism. Something which, because of human ignorance, it has not always been understood or recognized. So unfortunately, women have seldom received their due in the history of Buddhism. I'd like to share with you a few thoughts I have about Eshinni and her importance and significance, not only in the history of Buddhism, but also for today. I think she represents something significant for all Buddhist women and men living today, but not in the traditional mode of her being just a good wife and supporter for her husband. Eshinni was herself a devout follower of the Nembutsu teaching, and one who deeply understood the meaning and the implications of that teaching. We don't really know too much about the history of women in Buddhism, going back to Shakyamuni Buddha. The reason we don't know too much is that most of the records that tell us about the development of Buddhism were written by men. And before modern times, there were very few voices of Buddhist women that survived for us to hear today. One of those voices is, of course, the voice of Eshinni, which we can hear through her letters. Before her, the voices of women are very faint. There are a few, but they're very faint. Beginning with Gotami, Shakyamuni Buddha's grandmother, who we are told raised him from a child. Women have been marginalized and discriminated against by Buddhist tradition, in total disregard of the Buddha's fundamental teaching of non-discrimination, non-judging, and also the Buddha's acknowledgement that women are just as capable of men of attaining enlightenment. Gotami herself had to repeatedly petition the Sangha for admission to join, to become a monk, a nun, and was finally allowed to join, but only after accepting some new rules that placed all women, no matter how advanced they were in their practice, below the status of every male monk, even someone who was just newly ordained. So the women are always below. So that was established very early. And much of this was due to these kind of, we call it misogynist beliefs, which are, of course, they're deeply ingrained in all so-called advanced cultures and civilizations, including those in which Buddhism spread. Thus, even in the Pure Land tradition, which arose with the egalitarian intention of offering a way to awakening and Buddhahood for everyone, no matter whether they were talented, good or bad, whatever, everybody has a path to awakening through the Pure Land tradition. But even that still held on to the notion that women could only enter the Pure Land via the mechanism of the 35th vow of Dharmakara Bodhisattva, which promises that women will be transformed into men. Maleness is unquestionably understood to be the pre-qualification for birth into Amida's land and also for enlightenment. So that's what was understood. Of course, this is really against what the Buddha taught. So these ideas were really part of society, so much so. Even Shinran, who was totally devoted to the idea of Amida's measureless compassion, that it embraced everyone just as you are, he did not feel that he was allowed to throw away these ideas. They were so much part of the tradition about women being second class, or that they couldn't enter the Pure Land, and so that because this was taken for granted so much by everyone. So, but despite this, Shinran's deepest conviction, which he expresses many, many times, was always in the total and unconditional embrace of Amida, the fact that no one, male or female, rich or poor, good or evil, is left behind. So, but despite these strong beliefs in Japan and most societies, let's face it, most societies in the world, women themselves usually held other views. They might on the surface go along with it, but in their own private thoughts and with each other, they had other views. So in the time of Shinran and Eshinni and Kakushinni, women in Japan actually still exercised a lot of independence that had, and they held on to certain rights and prerogatives that went back to earlier times in Japan, when women were seen as spiritually equal with men. Eshinni herself seems to have been a strong and independent woman at the same time that she was a selfless supporter of her husband's work. And we know that she kind of ran the family business, the farm, or that produced some income that helped to support Shinran. Eshinni's letters demonstrate that her attitude toward her husband was not submissive or passive. She was motivated to help him and support him, of course by love, but also by her own unique experiences, her own spiritual path, which convinced her that her husband, Shinran's teaching, was of great importance. Her help and support of his work arose from her own conviction and faith. In one of her letters, Eshinni refers to a dream that she once had, in which Shinran appeared to her as Kannon, the Bodhisattva of compassion. Now, Kannon was traditionally associated with Amida Buddha, working to save all beings. And Kannon was usually pictured in female form, the Bodhisattva of compassion. Also, Kannon also becomes kind of like the goddess of compassion in later culture, Chinese culture, and things like that. In Eshinni's mind, the vision of her husband as the Bodhisattva of compassion really confirmed for her that his calling to spread the Nembutsu teaching was very important, was very authentic. And the fact that Kannon was seen as feminine must have been a confirmation for Eshinni of the acceptability and value of herself as a woman. In addition, Eshinni also reveals in one letter her awareness that Shinran had once had a similar dream. He told her about this, in which Kannon appeared to him and had promised to take the form of a woman for him to marry. Since he was a monk when he had this dream, the idea that Kannon would become Shinran's wife must have given Eshinni a great sense of the significance of her own life as a woman, and also of her equal value as a Buddhist. The fact that both the fact that both Shinran and Eshinni regarded each other as manifestation of Kanon, the Bodhisattva of compassion, that must have had a great impact on Eshinni's self-understanding, her view of herself. This vision might certainly have convinced her that despite what society thought, all these ideas about men and women in society, from the perspective of Amida Buddha, there could exist absolutely no distinction between men and women. And we see this in another one of her letters. When she was about 87 or 88, she wrote to her daughter Kakushinni, and she expressed very, very beautifully and poignantly that she was feeling the effects of age and that she was waiting for that time, the time of death. In expressing her wish that she might have one last chance to see her daughter and grandchildren while she was still in the world, she writes, "I myself will be going to the Pure Land Paradise very soon. There, everything can be seen without any darkness, so be sure to say the Nembutsu and come to the paradise to be with me. Indeed, when we go to the paradise, the Pure Land, and meet again, nothing whatever will be in darkness." So when I read Eshinni's words, it seems quite certain that she expected to meet Kakushinni, her daughter, and actually all of her family and friends in the Pure Land as herself, as a woman, not transformed into a man. And in an earlier letter to her daughter, Eshinni had also written, "Particularly since you are my youngest child, I have always thought of you as dearest. It would be truly heartbreaking for me never even to hear from you." Her anticipation for reunion in the Pure Land, therefore, must have been to actually see her beloved daughter again as she was. In the same letter, Eshinni bids Kakushinni to encourage another lady friend that she should be sure to say the Nembutsu and come to the Pure Land Paradise to be with us. So she wants to see her friends there. I have the feeling that Eshinni envisioned the Pure Land as a place characterized by feminine affection and warmth and the continuation of the bonds of family and friends. This is not surprising, for her letters contain many references to the hardness and difficulties of life. It is quite understandable that for her, the Pure Land would be a place of clarity, stability, love, and the joys of reunion with loved ones. It seems that Eshinni had a true and profound understanding of the Nembutsu teaching. She believed that the Buddha accepted her just as she was, and thus she also accepted herself as a woman just as she was. She did not accept a widely held belief, conviction actually in those times, that women could not attain enlightenment. Her faith in the Dharma was so deep that she had no doubt of the certainty of her own birth in the Pure Land, just as she was as herself. Of course, we do not know very much about her. We only have a few letters. But looking at her life of selfless service to the teaching, her compassion for others, as well as her spirit of self-acceptance, I believe that her life should serve as a model for Jodo Shinshu followers today, both women and men. Just as Shinran Shonin opened up the Buddhist path to everyone and made it possible for everyone to feel accepted by the Buddha just as they are, Eshinni's example encourages all women to accept themselves just as they are, as women, reminding all of us of the unconditional love and compassion that surrounds all beings and accepts each of us as we are, without any discrimination. So in today's world, with all of its growing conflicts, discrimination, racial strife, gender conflicts, all those things among people, our selfish tendency to exploit each other, to devalue the lives of others, and which really comes from our materialistic and selfish values, that dominate societies today. It's so very important for all of us as Buddhists to live and teach the Nembutsu way so that we may, together with all beings, reawaken to our true potential as human beings. This is what the world needs. We all need to reawaken to what it means to be a human being, to express and appreciate the fullness of each moment of the life of every being, just as we are, just as you are. So thank you very much for listening today, and let's put our hands together in Gassho now and recite the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Let's put our hands together in Gassho now and recite the golden chain of love. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Well, thank you all very much. Thank you all so much for joining together with me today as we remember Eshinni and Kakushinni, the wife of Shinran Shonin, and their daughter. It is a wonderful time to reflect on the equality of all of us and to really encourage one another to accept themselves and others just as they are, just as you are. So we are still stuck at home, all of us, doing the best we can, hopefully making the most out of this kind of enforced solitude. It's hard, and it's easy to get depressed, it's easy to get lonely, it's easy to get restless, but let's also, that's all understandable, but let's also try to find something positive in every moment of this time. It's really a good time to think and to reflect and to just sort of gain a perspective on our everyday life. When things are normal, we have a tendency not to think about our life. We just sort of go with the flow, which is okay, but it's good to step back once in a while. And this is sort of, we might think of this as a kind of spiritual retreat that we're all going through. And in any case, do the best you can, and please do stay safe at home. When you go out, be very careful, take all the precautions, wash your hands constantly, and all those things. I will see you again next week for our next Sunday service. And please do check our Kahului Hongwanji website for information. And please, if those of you who normally get our newsletter, it might be late, but we will be having a newsletter this month, a shorter one, but we will be having one. And do check also all the other videos available on our YouTube channel. So thank you very much for listening and for participating, being together in the Dharma today. And let's put our hands together in Gassho now and close with the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida.